Unsold new homes are piling up across the nation. And a lot of these builders are sounding the alarm because they have more unsold new homes than they've had since 2007. And prices are falling fast. In 2022, the median new home price in the nation was $460,000. Now that price, $401,000. And that's a drop of 13% in just 3 years. And make no mistake, that kind of price drop makes people have flashbacks to 2008 during the great financial crisis, when we saw new home prices crash 20% nationwide. And when those prices collapsed back in 2008, builders hit the alarm then because they had to come out with crazy incentives. They had to slash prices. They just had a glut of inventory. And I should know because I was in new home construction in 2008 in the southwestern part of the US, and I saw it firsthand. I saw what pain looked like. I saw the discounts. I saw the abandoned projects. I was there at the ground level. So is this really 2008 all over again? And should you wait for deeper price discounts, or should you buy now? I'm at a DR Horton community in Newark, Ohio, about 40 minutes east of Columbus and about 20 minutes from the new Intel Gigafactory, to show you what's really going on and talk about how you can take advantage of this builder distress, because profit margins are squeezed, prices are dropping, and incentives, those are skyrocketing. These builders are doing everything they can do. They're pulling out all the tricks to get you to buy one of these new homes. Everything, that is, except cut the price. Although we are starting to see a little bit of the price cuts, but mostly still incentives. Now, this development is called the Overlook from DR Horton, and you can kind of see it down below me. There's a bunch of single family homes for sale. On this other side, that's where they have some apartments that they're putting in. We need this type of building in this community here, and I don't live very far from here, only like 10-15 minutes. So I can tell you firsthand, we definitely need this construction. But not every area of the country is equal, and many areas of the country, builders are suffering because they have way too much inventory and they're having a problem selling it. So I'm gonna go ahead and walk down here through the development. I'm gonna show you a couple of these quick move-in homes that they're trying to unload and that they're giving away these crazy incentives on, because these incentives are plastered everywhere. Like, they're not showing any price cuts really, but they are showing that you can get a lower interest rate, right? An interest rate buy down. You can get some free appliances, something like that. And you know, you can tell they're just starting to get more and more desperate. And there's a bunch of lots left to build on. The question is, will they start these homes? Now, here's a home here that's not just the skeletons on it only at this point. Right here behind me, there's some guys on a roof right here building. And so you definitely have homes continuing to be built here, although it's not at a huge rapid pace. Let's talk about some of these margins and what the builders are going through, some of the pain. I mean, DR Horton is the largest builder in the US, and they're a publicly traded company. So you can kind of look at their results and see what's going on. And right now, their margins are being compressed big time. In other words, they're seeing profit margins plunge from just a few years ago, from 30% down to 22% in just a short time. And now that we're heading into the second half of the year, especially in an area like Ohio where it gets super cold, I'm guessing that the incentives will have to increase, price discounts may have to increase, and that's just gonna cause them more stress, but it could be an opportunity for you if you're thinking about buying. And Pulte Group, another home builder in the area, is not doing much better. The margins for Pulte Group have dropped from 31% to 27%, and they're projecting that the margin will fall to 22% in the coming quarters. It's clear as day to see that the builders are definitely bleeding cash in many cases. So for example, here's a home right here that is a move-in quick special, and it's actually a pretty big home. It's a 5-bed, 3-bath house. Looks all finished, looks like a nice place, but that home is priced at about $445,000. And they're offering a special incentive of 4.825% fixed interest rate for the next 30 years. And that's a heck of an incentive, right? I mean, that's a good mortgage rate compared to what you're seeing right now on the market. I mean, interest rates today, when I looked, were about 6.6 approximately. So if you can get a rate in the high fours, that's enticing, and that's why a lot of these incentives work. And here's another one for sale. I didn't see this one listed, but you got these two homes side by side that are empty. Now, one of them is on the MLS. I know that. I've seen that on the MLS. The other one's not. That first one we looked at actually had a $10,000 price cut, but that wasn't advertised on the DR Horton website. It was on the MLS listed as a $10,000 price cut. So it's kind of like a hidden price cut, right? So they kind of hide the price cuts, but they will advertise and plaster the incentives all over the place. Now let's talk more about these incentives, because that is a normal tactic builders will use. They will give you an incentive to buy the home other than the price cut. And traditionally, a builder like this will put on maybe $15,000 to $20,000 on a $600,000 home in terms of incentives. So now that has changed, and the average incentive, for instance, that the Pulte group's giving away, and I would suspect it'd be similar for a company like DR Horton, is upwards of $50,000 in incentives on a $600,000 home. I mean, that's a big cut, right? So take into account the price drops nationally we've seen on new homes. Then you couple that in with they're giving away incentives to the tune of $50,000 on average per $600,000 home. And that's good news for you if you are trying to buy a home, particularly a new home. And this one actually has a little sign out front that tells us what our payment would be if we bought this house. Let's see what they have to say. So with this house here, what they're saying is you can have a payment as low as $2,831 a month. It says that must be in contract on or before 6/24/25, which is already passed, but I guarantee if I went in the office and said, I want this house, they'd say, yeah, you can still have that deal. It's saying the financing is offered by DHI Mortgage Company, which is the DR Horton Mortgage Company. And that's based on a sale price of $419,000. And it looks like they're giving away a 5.592 fixed interest rate for 30 years, which is definitely lower than what you'd see on the market, but it's not like it's substantially lower. And to do that, to make that work, to get this payment and to get that interest rate, the seller, DR Horton, is giving 2.625 points at closing to you. They're buying down the rate, and that's 2.625% of the cost of the home. So on a $400,000 house, that's could be over $10,000 in basically incentives at closing that these guys are paying to get you that low rate, because they have to pay for the points at closing to buy that rate down. Now I'm on a famous bike trail that's adjacent to this development. That's what makes this development actually favorable, is it's right on the TJ Evans bike trail. So you can kind of take this trail here all the way into Newark, and you can actually go all the way into Johnstown where the Intel project is. It kind of goes through some of these older neighborhoods that I'm walking past. We need to talk about 2008 versus now, because you may be wondering, and rightly so, are we headed for another 2008 style crash? Or are we going to have a rebound? Well, one of the indicators you need to pay attention to overall inventory of homes for sale, not just new homes, but overall inventory. That's your number one indicator of the trajectory of a housing market. It's not some type of forecast from an app. It's not some type of algorithm. Just look at the raw number. How many homes are for sale? Because if there are a lot of homes compared to historical averages and compared to recent times, then that means prices will probably come down, that sellers are probably more willing to bargain. Conversely, if you see lower inventory, if the number of homes for sale is falling, not rising, then that probably signals that prices will be sticky or they'll go up. It's just simple supply and demand. So don't be fooled. You don't have to use some type of fancy software, fancy app. You certainly don't have to pay for the information to get what you need to understand your housing market. So let's apply that and look at the national picture when it comes to inventory of homes for sale. And this is what's going to shock you. In 2000, we had around 2 million homes on the market, total inventory, new and existing. And then as things got bad and we entered the dot-com crisis and then we entered the GFC, the number of homes for sale skyrocketed to nearly 4 million total homes. And how many homes do we have available right now? The number of homes for sale today, a little over 1 million. So while inventory of homes has been increasing lately, there's no doubt, we are light years away from what we saw during the GFC, even way under what we saw leading up to the GFC in the year 2000 or so. And something else you have to keep in mind is that builder pain is regional, and a market like Ohio proves it, because here in Newark, we need those type of homes to be built. And there's only like 4 or 5 up there that are empty and ready to be moved into. Whereas if I go out to Phoenix or Austin or Florida, you're gonna see a lot more pain in the new building sector. While we do have more inventory than we had the last few years overall, it's not looking like a 2008 style crash. Now, there are other factors involved that are hanging out there that some would point to that could signal that we are headed for another 2008 crash, like student loan debt, like buy now, pay later, like the foreclosure moratoriums that have kept foreclosures artificially off the market, right? All that is definitely different than we had in 2008. And so there are things that are the same, but overall inventory right now is not pointing to a 2008 crash. But I would keep my eye on new listings and active listings in your market. Don't pay attention to somebody's opinion about forecasts. Don't pay attention to an app that tells you, hey, here's how much homes are overvalued. Look at the raw data and make the decision yourself. And at the end of the video, I'll tell you exactly where you can get that info for free. But there is a concern that I have brewing in the housing market behind the scenes, and it's something you definitely should be aware of. While everybody's fixated on these prices and incentives and the 2008 crash, these builders, a lot of them, are actually throttling back production. They're actually decreasing the number of homes they're building. In fact, since 2022, new home starts have collapsed, completely collapsed 27% from 1.8 million new starts to 1.3 million homes started in 2025. And so one has to wonder, why would they throttle back their production? Why would they build less homes moving forward rather than more homes? Well, because there's less demand. And so these builders have learned from 2008. They've learned that, man, if I keep building homes on the speculation, ignoring the numbers, I am going to suffer in the future. So they've said, you know what? We're going to throttle back our production. We're going to not build as many homes, and we're going to kind of let the market stabilize before we kick off more production. Now, again, it's regional. So here there are a few homes being started. I'm sure in your market, you may see more and more new construction, but overall nationwide, the numbers don't lie. And they say new building construction is slowing. It's not ramping up. To further illustrate this, we should look at lumber supply. Now, there's a guy that I follow on YouTube, The Uneducated Economist. His name is Simon, and this dude has his finger on the pulse of the lumber industry. He lives in the Northwest. He works at a lumber yard, so he knows firsthand what builders are going through. And the Northwest is like the linchpin of lumber supply for not only our nation, but a lot of other nations, and lumber supply in terms of building houses. Because when you build a home, these are all stick built, they need sticks or lumber. And so one of the things that Simon is pointing out as a lumber expert, these builders aren't buying as much lumber. Lumber production is down, prices for lumber are down, and that all points to the fact that there's not a lot of lumber demand. And so if you're all of a sudden you're seeing lumber demand go down, 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 that's going to translate eventually into builders not putting homes together, not starting new homes. So those numbers correlate very well with the low starts and the low production of lumber. And I don't hear anybody talking about this except Simon, but now you know and you're educated, and that's good. So when someone says, man, builders are building homes left and right, it's going to be like millions and millions of homes available on the new home market. It's like, well, nobody's buying lumber right now. So I'm not sure how you can build a home without lumber unless you use like steel studs, which these guys aren't going to use at this price point, or you're going to build it out of concrete or something, right? I mean, got to have lumber to start a home. And we saw this builder slowdown in 2008. So from that aspect, it is similar to 2008 and the fact that we saw this slowdown, although they slowed it down last time way too late. This time they've hit the brakes a lot earlier. The big concern I have is that the supply of these new homes starts to vanish. And if that happens, what happens to prices? They will continue to go up, maybe even past where they were just in 2022 when they peaked at 460 grand. So hopefully they can build more homes, but right now it's not looking like they're going to. So how can you take advantage of the builder stress today to get a great deal? Well, the first thing you should do is not run out and visit these new homes right now. You need to do some homework. First thing I would look at is the total number of homes for sale in your market, new and existing. We've already talked about that, but a great place to get that data would be a company like Redfin. Now, Redfin is only going to provide a metro level, a zip code level look at the inventory, and it's not going to break it down by the type of home or the price point. So you should start there, but you're going to have to then get with somebody like a realtor to give you access to MLS data so you can find out how many homes are for sale now and historically in your price point and in the exact area you want to buy in and the type of house. So if you're looking for a 5-bed, 3-bath house, don't go comparing data on 2-bed, 1-bath houses. Now, the other thing I would do is I would research the builder that you're going to go visit. Look at the reviews on Google, maybe even talk to some people in the neighborhood and find out if that builder, if they've had good experience with that builder in that development, and you'll get a first-hand understanding of what to expect. The next thing is to make sure you take buyer representation with you. These guys will have people on their side looking out for their best interest. You need to have people on your side looking out for your best interest. Now, when you finally go to the community and you're talking to the builder, try to get an understanding of the real bottom dollar price. Meaning, if they don't give you any incentives at all, any of the rate buy downs, no free appliances, what's the price of the home? Now look at the price of the home. If you were to have those incentives, and then compare them against each other against resale houses in your market. And then look at how much it would cost you to buy a new home, an existing home, using a real rate, a real interest rate, and loan terms from an actual bank, not the builder lender. And that'll give you a chance to really compare apples for apples versus just assuming you're getting a good deal because they're giving a free refrigerator away or free countertops. You also never want to skip inspections. No matter what these folks tell you, if the home has not been started yet, get an inspection at all phases of the process. That's your right to do. If they're not going to allow you to do that, I'm not sure I would buy their product. The other thing along the lines of inspections is if the house has already been started or if it's already constructed, look at the history of the inspections and see what type of inspections they did throughout the building process. And whatever you do, make sure you get a complete inspection before you buy, and definitely do that final walkthrough. Because I can't tell you how many homes I've helped clients buy that we get to the goal line and go to close on the property, and we do the final walkthrough, and we discover something like water in the basement or a leaky roof or something that doesn't work. So you have to do that work before you close on the property. And finally, for goodness sakes, pay attention to property taxes, because the property taxes on just the dirt lot could be next to nothing. But once you have the house built and the county reassesses the property, your taxes could skyrocket. They could be basically nothing right now on the dirt lot, but then the home is built and the property taxes are now $7,000, $10,000 a year. So make sure you understand the property taxes before you close. Don't go in with rose-colored glasses on. Be real and understand your real payment, because you don't want to get trapped in a house you can't afford. Make no mistake, builder distress like this is not going to last forever. New home starts and lumber output are plunging, and that's setting up a future supply shortage that could send home prices soaring in a couple years. So there may be, depending on where you live, a small window to maximize your opportunity with new builders. You may want to negotiate now before the builders take back the leverage. Now, if you got any value out of today's video, if you learned anything, hit the like button, subscribe to the Housing Nerd, and share this video. And YouTube thinks you'll love this video right here.